What
Red flag.
happened
Red flag.
in
Red flag.
qualifying
Red flag.
for
Red flag.
the
Red flag.
Azerbaijan
Red flag.
Grand
Red flag.
Prix? Shall we all just take a deep breath?
I need to lie down.
It wasn't fast and frantic. It was slow and painful for a lot of it, wasn't it, really? Just with how many red flags there was. I just wanted to see a few clean laps qualifying. It got to that stage at the end where both of us were genuinely praying to not see a qualifying lap. That's how rare of a situation we found ourselves in when Carlos Sainz was top.
And we were also earlier than that praying to see a qualifying lap because we felt like there were so many delays that we're just like, please, can I just see cars on track? And then when we actually were going to have that, because it was going to essentially deny one of the most crazy underdog, not only just poles, top three, we would have had Carlos Sainz and the two Racing Bulls in the picture where they kind of have the top three. You know, imagine missing qualifying and tuning in and seeing that. But still a crazy result and a great grid for tomorrow.
And a lot to talk about. Now, before we dive into all of that, just a reminder, our Australian live show tour tickets are still available, flying off the shelves. tix.to/P1 Live if you want to come see us in Australia in May 2026. There are a few tickets available for Manchester at the end of the year, as well as the US tour as well. And let's not dive into Q1 because there is one thing we need to talk about, Tom Bellingham, before we do that. Now, we had 6 red flags in qualifying, which is the record for the most red flags in a qualifying session. And there's a question which tees it up so beautifully from P1 Patreon member Mikey B. Is Tommy's prediction of no red flags due to crashes a generationally washed prediction? I think you actually forfeit the prediction championship from that one thing. Yeah,
there were people discussing in the live chat when we were doing this that I actually deserve minus points, but no, but it is bad. I admit it's terrible. I'll say you're welcome because we got an insane grid.
Bro's trying to turn this round like it was his powers that made it.
Whatever.
No. But literally after practice, when we were doing our preamble, before we started into Q1, you had your smug face on. You were like, well, we've brushed the wall a few times, but we've not had a red flag. I was like, look, wait, Tommy, we've got qualifying. This is where they'll actually push. And my God, they pushed into the wall many, many times. Now, let's dive into Q1, where the bottom 5 were Colapinto, Hülkenberg, Ocon, Gasly, and Albon. Question from P1 Patreon member Captain Obs 3420. How much will Alex be kicking himself for crashing immediately with how good the car clearly is? I'll be honest with you, forgot that even happened. It feels like 3 weeks ago that Alex Albon clipped the wheel to turn one.
Like nearly 3 hours ago, which is mad.
Yes, he will be kicking himself because his teammate is on the front row of the grid, which is bizarre and wild and crazy, but that's just how the action unfolded. And this was where, this was, of course, the first incident. This was the first red flag where Tommy's trying to find some loopholes. Is it? You've got some chat actually as well saying, look, is it a crash really when there's no debris?
Yeah.
It's not really meant.
And then Hülkenberg was like, watch this.
Yeah, then Hülkenberg, let me follow up on that one. But back to Alex, 100% going to be kicking himself. I don't think he was expecting a front row potential with the car, but they were looking really good in practice, definitely a point-scoring team, and it almost ended up with his teammate on pole and him starting 20th. Yeah,
what an insane thing that is to think about, a Williams sandwich of the entire grid almost. Alex, he's had such a good year, very uncharacteristic error. You don't normally see people turn in too early at that. We saw plenty of drivers kind of go off into the kind of into turn 1 where they kind of bail out because they're going to hit that outside wall and they bail onto the runoff area, loop all the way back round and get back in. The fact that Alex turned in too early and then to witness what happened, of course, it was a crazy session that you'd never would have predicted anyway, but even in a normal dry qualifying session, you kind of on performance, you feel like both Williams probably would have made it into Q3, you'd think.
This video is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Think of Surfshark like DRS, but for the internet. One switch and suddenly you're overtaking restrictions, sneaking past trackers, and unlocking content from anywhere in the world. Want to catch sports coverage from another country? Easy. Want to watch that bizarre Netflix series only available in Australia? No problem. Plus, Surfshark keeps you safe online while stopping those creepy targeted ads from chasing you around. Just because I searched for Charles Leclerc items to put in my shrine doesn't mean I need to be fed them every single time I go on the internet. Maybe. And the best part? You can run Surfshark on unlimited devices. It's super simple to use, and they've got 24/7 support if you ever get stuck in the gravel. Right now, you can try Surfshark risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on a single app and go to surfshark.com/P1 or use code P1 at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Next question, P1 Patreon member A Good Karen. So when can we expect to see Jack Doohan back in the Alpine? He was fired for less.
Well,
another
I'm surprised.
As well, another crash to add for Q1.
Yeah, another crash. So we had Hulkenberg crashing. Then we had Gasly going off. And in the watch-along, we said, didn't we, that's a weird, there's a red flag. Why is that a red flag? He's just gone down the runoff area, and then Colapinto steams in and crashes into the wall. It's disappointing for Colapinto because, of course, had he not crashed it into the wall, well, he still out-qualified Gasly, which is insane, actually, because it's 3 times out of the last 4 races that Colapinto's out-qualified Gasly, which is no mean feat, actually quite impressive, but unfortunately Colapinto
still out-qualified him, Tom, even though he completely obliterated his car.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah, he has out-qualified him again, but unfortunately for him, it's another crash, but I hate to say it, I know there's many Jack Doohan fans out there that would love to see him back, but it's not going to happen. Flavio Briatore has already mentioned that next year it is a choice between Colapinto and Paul Aron who gets that second seat. Unfortunately for Jack Doohan, he has been dropped. It wasn't a case of if Colapinto's bad, we'll swap you back in. It doesn't seem to be like that. So, if Colapinto keeps having these errors and things and performing badly, then it would be Paul Aron in.
It's a shame for Jack Doohan, of course. He was against it from literally before he'd even turned a wheel. Everything was against him, but he didn't show any kind of levels of potential that would give Alpine and Flavio a reason to swap him back with Franco. Franco, yes, has had moments already. We've spoken about it this season. He has made mistakes, but he has, as you mentioned, with the qualifying record, shown some promise, which Doohan wasn't able to do in that amount of time, but still didn't. And Alpine aren't looking for
someone that's all right
second driver.
Yeah.
They need a high quality young talent that they can not lose from their roster for once, and actually nurture them and make them good. So whether that's Franco, whether that's Paul Aron. Lots of crashes. The Colapinto, Hulkenberg was kind of a front wing, wasn't it? It wasn't a complete decimation of his car. Worth mentioning as well, Ocon, 18th in the Haas. His qualifying struggles continue this season, and being out-qualified by Bearman, who had his own troubles in Q2, but we've not crossed that bridge yet. But it is mystifying to see just how much Ocon has struggled to get the most out of that Haas car this year.
In qualifying, which is mad because he's still, he's got 28 points on the board, 13th in the championship, which kind of feels very strange to think. But yeah, Ocon is, again, it's Haas, and the struggles do seem to be in qualifying, and particularly for Ocon.
Let's head to Q2, where the 5 drivers out were Alonso, Hamilton, Bortoleto, Stroll and Bearman. So the big stories from this one, of course, has to be Lewis Hamilton and then another crash. And this time it was Oliver Bearman who decided to do his best Lando Norris impression from practice and do his own crabbing, which unfortunately he wasn't able to get it back to the pits. But let's focus on Ferrari first. P1 Patreon member Anastasia W. What happened to Ferrari between Q1 and Q2 that caused such a huge drop in pace? If only I knew, Anastasia. Hamilton there said after qualifying that they went with a slightly different direction, which you just love hearing that, don't you?
Oh, they love that.
when I feel like it happens more with Ferrari than any other team, to be honest with you. Like, we found a good setup with the car, and then we went with the wrong direction, and then we had 7 wheels rather than 4. It was mystifying because Hamilton was honestly looking to be front 3, maybe even challenge for pole, and he's knocked out in Q2 on the back foot, making mistakes. I think he went down the exit road, if I'm not mistaken. Like there was mistakes again that you don't tend to see from Hamilton. There's been a lot of talk this weekend as well, hasn't there, about his brakes, and that his brakes have been different than what he's been used to for the last 18 years and things like that. And I'm sat there, right, and I'm going, fair enough, like, cool, that is a problem for Hamilton that he needs to get over. But why is it now that we're talking about it? Why is this not been rectified by Ferrari or whatever in the lead up to them signing the biggest driver in Formula One at the time? Like it's a bit of a weird conversation, that is. But yeah, 12th for Hamilton, absolute disaster. When Ferrari, they were supposed to challenge for pole with both drivers.
I can't remember like a time where I've seen such a drop off in performance between 2 kind of quali sessions where it's not been like it chucked it down with rain or something and it's completely different conditions. Ferrari looked like, in Q1, obviously, like, I was bantering a little bit, but Leclerc looked so quick, looked like he's definitely on, a chance for pole position again. Hamilton equally looking like he can challenge at the front and might get his best quali result, in a long time. And then we got into Q2 and Leclerc actually, was quite late to just making it through in the first place because he had a few issues where he was going off, making mistakes and things. And then Hamilton, didn't get the lap in at the end. It was just a complete disaster for Ferrari when it was all looking so good. It was so bizarre.
I will add as well, there was a lot of talk about Hamilton being left out on old tyres and things like that. That was exactly the strategy that Ferrari did in Q1. They were both, I think, they ran their soft tyres to about 10 laps old.
And it worked for him really well in Q1.
It did. And in Q2, Hamilton, I think, was up to 6 laps on his soft tyres. So not even to the extent of which they went in Q1, but then the pace kind of disappeared. But with the blustery conditions as well, I think pace could easily just come and go with your car with just a slight change of wind. Other stories to talk about. Lance Stroll, I'm absolutely devastated. He made it through Q1. Go on, the lad. Of course, my prediction for this weekend was that Stroll would outqualify Alonso.
You just reminded me we were so close to it.
Away from that
5 seconds red flag away from it.
12,000 red flags that we saw. Alonso was heading towards the line. It was the end of Q1. I think it was. End of Q1. He
was about to go out.
Stroll was beautifully up in like 8th place because my guy. And Alonso was out at the time and just managed to get over the line to set a lap time, which robbed me of a wonderful point for that prediction.
It did, and Stroll went off, didn't he, and basically got on the radio and said what on earth happened there. The wind catching so many drivers out. Aston Martin, didn't look particularly great. Ollie Bearman, he looked very quick all weekend, of course. Another terrible prediction of mine, going for good surprise. So, of course, he
was looking so good.
He was looking good. Yeah, he looked very, very good around here. Still out-qualified Ocon, looked quick, but he looked very gutted with himself because it could have been a great result for him. And you do wonder what's going through the heads of these kind of drivers like your Aston Martins and your Hasses and things, looking a Williams and a Racing Bulls in 2nd and 3rd and probably thinking, that could have been me in this situation when you're not the midfielder that's capitalised on crazy situations. So gutting for Bearman.
Bortoletto again out qualifying Hülkenberg.
Yeah,
and it has to be said, I'm surprised to see him up in 13th. I think he did a great job considering they looked like they were massively on the back foot.
He was having a really tough practice sessions as well. Like, he didn't look like he had much pace, but again, like, that must be, I don't know how many in a row now. It seems to Nico Hülkenberg, since he got his podium, it's just dropped off. Yeah, he literally has just dipped now. He's just like, I'm done.
Like, guys, thanks. I've got my Lego trophy. I am out. Let's now head to Q3, where the top 10: Verstappen, Sainz, Lawson, Antonelli, Russell, Tsunoda, Norris, Hadjar, Piastri, Leclerc.
Am I dreaming?
What an absolutely ridiculous top 10 that is. And look, we have to go straight into a question. Before we dive into all of my thoughts and feelings, we'll go to you first, Tommy. P1 Patreon member Caesar, Max Verstappen championship back on?
I joked in the watch along, the fact
joke.
that... I did. I was joking.
No, you said that with your chest, bruv.
No, I don't ever believe that it's gonna happen, but... The fact that he's got pole position again, the McLarens, of course, 7th and 9th. Yeah, it was tongue-in-cheek, me saying Verstappen, this is championship back on. There's no way on earth that it's going to happen. But what is happening is Max Verstappen, and I know everyone will roll their eyes here, is Max Verstappen showing that why he's the best in Formula One and why he's highly rated and why people like Toto Wolff are like desperate to get him in their team no matter what and things like that, because another situation where you had one opportunity to get a result in at the end and Max puts half a second on the whole field. You can say, oh, the Red Bull are looking good this weekend, but he's still put a second on his teammate again. It's just amazing what he's doing this year, and even without the best car and is unable to challenge for the title, we've just seen a lot of moments this year where Max just reminds everyone, like, if I had a car to be challenging, like, this would be over.
Yeah, he definitely delivered, didn't he? When it's slippery conditions, it's an equal playing field. Or is it? Because you're up against Max Verstappen. And that's that's what he showed. Yeah, I think Liam Lawson did a phenomenal job as well to get third on the grid, because that lap time was also set during those slippery conditions.
Yeah, he improved. It wasn't like it was like a fortunate one, was it?
Yeah, whereas Carlos's was done initially before the rain came down. But Max, is the championship back on? You're a better man than I am, Tommy, because if that was Charles Leclerc, I'd be singing from the hills that we're so back. Max Verstappen has absolutely got this race signed, sealed, delivered by 3 laps tomorrow if everything goes to plan, because he's got Sainz, Lawson as 2 very lovely buffers. Then you've got the Mercedes that have been the 4th fastest team this weekend. Then you have Yuki Tsunoda, a rear gunner, let's say, ahead of both McLarens. So I think Max will dominate. And Lando said after qualifying that the Red Bull has been just as quick as the McLaren this weekend. So Max, in theory, should romp away with the victory. But let's see. Right, I know we have to do this. Don't want to do it. But let's reflect on Charles Leclerc, shall we? Who ended up in the wall.
He did. As
P10?
10,000 live viewers decided to join us at that moment.
Thank you. If you're one of those, thank you for checking in. I feel like maybe I'd just been shot at that time. But Leclerc, he was potentially on for, I don't know if I was going to say pole, but a little P3, P4 was probably on the cards. They'd lost that little bit of je ne sais quoi, at the start of Q1 where we believed, or you believed more than anyone. You were like, yeah,
I was
convinced
done, mate. After Q1.
It's locked in. Like, GG's. Like, yeah, come on. But for me, it's obviously annoying. It's annoying on a lot of levels, actually, because, of course, Charles could have been up there second or third, maybe. However, it's more annoying for Carlos Sainz, because had it not been for Charles ending in the wall, I genuinely think the track was in a bad enough state that Carlos would have started on pole position for the race. So I'm gutted on a few levels, a bit for Carlos, more so for Charles Leclerc, of course. But the thing is, the pain goes down when I don't think it's going to happen. And I did not believe going into Q3 that Charles Leclerc was going to get pole. And even on that lap he was doing, he was not in the hunt for pole position. No, it didn't feel like it was on.
Yeah, it did feel like it was on at that point. If he'd been on for pole, you'd have looked at this situation, because, of course, we all know that it's Ferrari, they want to get that win this year, but it's incredibly difficult. But had they been at the front when you've got like a Williams and a Racing Bulls and the Mercedes, like that is their golden kind of opportunity. But instead, Leclerc straight in the wall. You got your flop point, right, potentially, but
what
cost?
The straight in the wall, like the straight was a bit emotional, bit of heat behind that straight in the wall. It was actually a very slow,
true,
rather pathetic incident in the sense of, not from Charles Leclerc, and he's not pathetic, he's a gorgeous, sexy man, but in terms of like the actual speed of the crash, it was almost like I could just pick the car up and just not make that not happen. Okay, question from Polski Polak _2. Did Ferrari fire the wrong driver?
had to include it.
Yeah, thanks for including that question, Tommy. That was not
Carlos
a choice from me.
P2.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Carlos doing a great job, don't get me wrong. Finally getting a bit of luck. Yeah. Carlos has not had luck this season at all. He's had so much go wrong for him. But no, Ferrari did not fire the wrong driver. Shut it. Next question. P1 Patreon member Bailey. Will this complicate the rumours of Isaac going to Red Bull over Liam?
No, I don't think so. No offence to Liam Lawson. Fantastic job in qualifying. But unless Liam Lawson is bagging these results loads till the end of the season, which I'd be amazed at. You know, his form now has started to improve a lot since when he went back into that Racing Bulls and we kind of said, oh, he's not had that immediate kind of boost of confidence that we expected. And then he's had some really, strong performances kind of later into this season, and this, of course, being the highlight of the season so far. I don't think it complicates rumours. I do think that Hadjar is locked in there. He's had a fantastic season. It would be huge recency bias to say that Lawson deserves to go back into that seat. Hadjar's been fantastic this year, but not taking anything away from Lawson.
Unless he wins like half of the rest of the races, it is Hadjar's every single day of the week. It could literally end like this, I think, for the rest of the season. The problem for Lawson is that he's already tasted the poison chalice of that second Red Bull seat. Red Bull have seen what he does and how he works and things like that. Hadjar, they don't know. Obviously, they know how he is in the Racing Bulls, but they have to test him out. Like, that is 100% how I believe, especially with the fact Isaac has had a podium, shown really great potential in his rookie season. There's nothing, unless Hadjar crashes in every single session from here on, I think it's locked in. It doesn't matter if Lawson does it. And I don't think Lawson should go back to Red Bull next year. I think it crushed him when he did go there. It's a very tough thing to go up against Max Verstappen. Now, I can't believe we've gone this far into the podcast and not spoken about the championship leader crashing in qualifying. That just shows the ridiculousn's of that qualifying session that we've just seen. Oscar Piastri crashing, making a very rare mistake, and I was going to say it was massive. It could have been massive, but he starts 9th, as far as we're aware. Of course, with these crashes, you have to take into account that there could be some gearbox issues or things that change on the internals that may put them in the pit lane or at the back of the grid. But for now, Piastri only 2 positions behind his teammate on the grid. He starts 9th. As of right now, Lando qualified 7th. Firstly, let's speak about the Oscar crash. Just completely misjudged it, didn't he? He went into the wall pretty hard. Perhaps feeling a bit of pressure. Maybe it's just the craziness of the qualifying session. Very difficult to maintain composure, especially when the track conditions are changing so much. The headwind, the tailwind. That's why we saw so many mistakes today. I saw some funny comments of like, these are supposed to be the best in the world. Why are they crashing so much? But I think that just shows the madness of what the conditions were. You could see the flags in the grandstands, massive wind speed. So for Piastri, it was a big mistake. We could have been speaking about this so much more, but the reason it's only here is because he's 2 positions behind Lando.
Yeah, had Lando got pole position and Piastri starting the way down in 9th, this would have been absolutely huge for the championship, and it still could be a moment, but I think Piastri, the fact that he's managed to get that he's had a big moment, and it is proper damage limitation because of what Lando managed to do. Piastri this weekend has had so many close calls with the walls in practice sessions. He's not really looked kind of his usual self, and then to crash in, whether it's just a case of like he's not gelled with the circuit, McLaren don't look as dominant as they normally are, or if it's maybe the pressure of the fact that it is getting so close now to the end of the season and that championship is almost within touching distance. We don't know, but for his sake, it's kind of, well, you couldn't have almost hoped for anything better, really, when he went in the wall for where Lando's qualified.
Absolutely. I mean, we still have 8 races to go, so it's not touching distance just yet, bro. We got a lot of points.
I meant more like the McLarens. It's like the finish line is within like close distance.
Finish line. there's a finish line in Formula 1 as well. Okay, I see what you're doing. Question from P1 Patreon member Mercedes on top. Do you think Lando didn't take full advantage of Oscar's crash? Surely, with your championship rival crashing, you'd hope you're at least top 5 to take advantage.
Yeah, I see two sides to this. That I think it's unfair for social media to jump on the fact that Lando's a bottler when his teammate is the one that's crashed out the session. But I do also agree that this is an opportunity that he absolutely should have taken. And I do think there's many reasons why that wasn't. You got to question, I think Lando himself said this, of like the track positioning. He was on mediums, was he? I believe. Was it soft? Oh, okay, I thought it was on mediums. So the fact that he questioned his track position, made that mistake, which he believed it lost him very little time. I think that lost him a lot of time personally going into that final corner. It's the smallest margin that would have put him like P5. It had to be more than a couple of spots. You know, he needed, even if he wasn't going to beat Max, P2 front row. Taking that opportunity, it's unfair to be completely like, oh my god, he's absolutely washed, he's terrible, because his teammates are the one that put him in the wall. But also at the same time, these are the moments in a world championship that you have to capitalise on.
Two things can coexist here. One 100%. Is that Lando was not the worst driver out there today. There were big profile drivers that made bigger errors and were out of the session. But on the flip side of that, I agree that Lando, I watched the head-to-head with Max. It wasn't just the mistake in turn 15 that cost him all of his lap time. He was maybe around half a second behind Max going to that corner. It was just the confidence. And, I was listening to what Lando had to say after qualifying and, questioned the decision. But you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. You either go out first, which worked out really well for Kevin Magnussen, for example, and in Brazil, he got pole position, then the conditions got worse. But for Lando, and I think in this situation, it is the hardest going first, because he highlighted that the further you are back in the queue, the slight better track condition you'll get. Lando, I think, also was... Max had new tyres, I believe. Lando had maybe one cycle through the tyres. Whatever it was, slightly on the back foot for that, but 1.1 seconds is not... nowhere near where he
should be a
been.
lot higher than that. The cars that he's finished behind in that situation, and the fact that someone like Liam Lawson improved.
Yeah, and he's probably driven quite tentative. That's Lando knowing his teammates in the wall. He's probably thinking in his head, just a safe lap is going to get me in the top 5, but it didn't. Right, that is it. Thank you everybody for tuning into this very long, very detailed and very red flag qualifying podcast for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We'll be live on Twitch and YouTube tomorrow for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and you do not want to miss this one. I think it might well be rather interesting. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we haven't had all of our chaos in one qualifying session, because that was too much, and I don't want that many red flags tomorrow. I'm not going to lie to you. Just please no. Thank you. All right, Tommy, what are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts are, I need to go have a lie down. What a day.
What a day. And it's 4:23 in the afternoon. We absolutely love it. All right, thank you everybody. We'll see you very soon. See you tomorrow. Lots of love. Take care. Bye.
Bye.